Have you ever felt trapped in a cycle of stress, anxiety, or illness, wondering why your body won't cooperate? The truth is your mind might be the biggest obstacle and the most powerful tool you have. Every thought you entertain, every belief you hold sends signals to your body. Chronic worry, fear, and negativity don't just live in your head. They manifest in tension, inflammation, and disease. The human mind has an extraordinary power over the body, a connection so intricate and profound that science is only beginning to fully understand it. Every thought, every emotion, every belief carries a frequency, a vibration that can affect the physical structures of the body, sometimes subtly, sometimes profoundly. Chronic stress, fear, anger, or negative thinking are far from being harmless mental states. They are active forces that set off a cascade of physiological reactions, shaping the body in ways that can ultimately lead to illness. The body is not a passive vessel, but a dynamic system that responds constantly to the mind's signals. When the mind is trapped in patterns of worry, anxiety, or despair, the body receives continuous messages of danger and dysfunction, and over time, this can manifest as chronic fatigue, weakened immunity, high blood pressure, or even autoimmune conditions. Stress, for example, triggers the release of cortisol and adrenaline, hormones that are beneficial in short bursts, activating the fight or flight response and enabling the body to respond to immediate danger. Yet, when these hormones are continuously released due to ongoing mental tension, they begin to damage the body rather than protect it. Cortisol suppresses the immune system, increases blood sugar levels, contributes to weight gain, and accelerates aging. Adrenaline keeps the heart rate elevated and the blood vessels constricted, straining the cardiovascular system. Over time, the accumulation of these stress responses does not merely make the body uncomfortable, it actively promotes disease. The mind's relentless chatter, the constant spiral of negative thinking, is not abstract, it is chemical, physical, and tangible. Scientists have demonstrated through studies of neuroimmunology and psychoneuroendocrinology that thoughts alone can influence immune function. A person who constantly experiences fear or anticipates disaster may have lower white blood cell activity, reducing their ability to fight infections. Someone who ruminates over negative events can show heightened markers of inflammation, which underlies many chronic illnesses, including heart disease, diabetes, and even cancer. This is not theory, this is observable reality. The brain and body are in constant dialogue, and the language they use is chemical. Each worry, each anxious thought prompts the brain to release neurotransmitters and hormones that either support life or strain it. Even mild but persistent negative thinking repeated daily can accumulate into significant physiological stress. Over time, what begins as subtle tension in the shoulders or tightness in the chest can evolve into severe chronic conditions. Pain itself, in many cases, is not just a physical phenomenon, but a psychosomatic response. The mind interprets stress as a signal to protect the body, creating muscular tension, changes in posture, or alterations in nerve sensitivity that lead to real pain. Emotional stress can alter heart rhythms, elevate blood pressure, and disturb digestive function. The gut, often called the second brain, is particularly sensitive to mental states. Stress changes the composition of gut bacteria, slows digestion, and increases inflammation, creating a direct pathway from thought patterns to physical discomfort and disease. Negative mental states also influence sleep, and poor sleep further compounds the problem. Chronic anxiety and worry make deep, restorative sleep difficult to achieve. Without adequate rest, the body cannot repair tissues, balance hormones, or maintain immune function. Sleep deprivation is a known contributor to obesity, cardiovascular disease, cognitive decline, and mood disorders. Thus, the mind, through the lens of persistent negativity or stress, creates a feedback loop that reinforces sickness. People often overlook the subtlety of this process. The idea that thoughts alone can make you sick may seem exaggerated, but consider the common experience of stress, headaches, or the stomach upset that arises before an important event. These are microcosms of the larger principle. The mind communicates constantly with the body, and its messages can either nourish or destroy. Research on psychosomatic medicine confirms that anxiety, depression, and chronic worry are strongly correlated with cardiovascular disease, autoimmune disorders, gastrointestinal problems, and chronic pain syndromes. The implications are profound. If negative mental patterns can actively promote illness, it follows that the mind is one of the most significant factors in maintaining or compromising health. But it is not only chronic negativity that causes harm. The patterns of anticipation, self-doubt, and unresolved emotional trauma also send damaging signals. A person who constantly replays past failures or fears future catastrophe keeps the nervous system in a state of heightened vigilance. This prolonged activation of the sympathetic nervous system, the fight or flight branch, prevents the parasympathetic system, responsible for rest, repair, and regeneration, from functioning optimally. The body remains in survival mode, never receiving the message that it is safe, never shifting into recovery, and over time, this imbalance manifests as disease. Even positive intentions can be ineffective if they are not accompanied by emotional alignment. The mind alone, when disconnected from emotional coherence, may fail to communicate healing signals effectively. This is why techniques like mindfulness, meditation, and focused visualization are so critical. They calm the mind, reduce harmful chemical signals, and allow the body to return to a state of balance. Consider the research on stress reduction and meditation. Individuals who practice regular mindfulness show decreased cortisol levels, lower blood pressure, improved immune function, and enhanced emotional regulation. These benefits demonstrate clearly that when the mind shifts from negativity and fear to calm and awareness, the body responds with measurable improvements in health. The power of the mind is not limited to chronic stress. Everyday thought patterns also play a critical role. Small, persistent habits of thinking, such as self-criticism, worry, or resentment, accumulate over time. These habits shape the neural pathways of the brain, creating entrenched patterns that automatically trigger stress responses without conscious thought. The more habitual these patterns become, the more the body is conditioned to respond as if it is under threat, even in safe environments. This is why long-term negative thinking can be as damaging as overt trauma. It is a slow, insidious process eroding physical health quietly but effectively. Understanding this connection between mind and body is not meant to induce fear, but rather to empower. Recognizing that chronic worry, negativity, and unresolved emotional tension have real physiological consequences provides a foundation for transformation. By observing and consciously redirecting thought patterns, individuals can begin to disrupt the harmful chemical and neurological cycles that perpetuate sickness. Techniques such as cognitive reframing, emotional release practices, and meditation are tools for this transformation. They allow the nervous system to downregulate, the immune system to function more effectively, and the body to repair itself. It is also important to note that the mind's impact on the body is influenced by belief. People who perceive their thoughts as inconsequential are more vulnerable to the physical manifestations of stress, while those who cultivate awareness of their mental habits and take responsibility for their inner dialogue gain an advantage in health. The act of becoming mindful of the mind-body connection itself initiates change because it interrupts the unconscious repetition of harmful thought patterns. The human brain is remarkably plastic, capable of forming new pathways and reshaping its chemical environment based on experience and intention. This neuroplasticity means that negative thinking is not permanent. It can be replaced with constructive, supportive mental habits that enhance physical health. When the mind learns to release fear, anxiety, and rumination, the body experiences decreased inflammation, improved cardiovascular function, enhanced immunity, and greater overall resilience. Every thought is a message to the body. Chronic negativity tells the body to prepare for danger, to withhold resources from repair and regeneration, to exist in a state of constant alert. By contrast, thoughts of calm, gratitude, and confidence signal safety, stability, and healing. The body cannot distinguish between imagined threat and real threat. The mind's signals are the ultimate determinant of physiological response. In this way, the mind is both the architect of illness and the key to wellness. Understanding the power of thoughts to affect physical health is the first step toward reclaiming control over one's body. By becoming aware of habitual negative patterns, learning to interrupt them, and cultivating thoughts that support life and vitality, individuals can shift the internal environment from one that fosters disease to one that fosters healing. The process is neither abstract nor mystical. It is rooted in biology, chemistry, and neuroscience. It is a practical, actionable understanding that bridges the gap between mind and body, showing that mental well-being is inseparable from physical health. To ignore the influence of the mind on the body is to leave one's health to chance. But to harness it consciously is to tap into a profound source of power, a source that can protect, restore, and elevate life. The awareness that chronic stress, fear, and negative thinking are active contributors to sickness transforms the way we approach health. It encourages a proactive, engaged relationship with one's thoughts, recognizing that the mind is not a bystander but a co-creator of physical reality. In practical terms, this means paying attention to daily thought patterns, challenging self-defeating beliefs, practicing emotional regulation, and creating moments of stillness that allow the body to reset. By embracing this approach, the mind becomes not a source of sickness but a catalyst for healing, resilience, and vitality, demonstrating that the body and mind are not separate entities, but deeply intertwined forces, each shaping the other in profound, measurable ways. Beliefs are the unseen architects of our lives, shaping our perceptions, guiding our decisions, and ultimately influencing the reality we experience. Every individual walks through life filtered through the lens of their beliefs, many of which are formed unconsciously during childhood, reinforced by society, and solidified by repeated experiences. These mental constructs are far more than abstract ideas. They are potent forces that dictate how the mind interprets events, how emotions respond, and how the body reacts. Limiting beliefs, in particular, create invisible barriers that subtly but powerfully influence behavior choices and even physical health. A person who believes that they are inherently unworthy, incapable, or destined for failure unconsciously aligns their thoughts, emotions, and actions to match that belief. This alignment manifests not only in decisions and habits, but also in the body itself. When the mind is perpetually sending signals of limitation, inadequacy, or danger, the body responds as though these messages are reality. It is not uncommon to observe patterns where chronic illnesses, fatigue, or stress-related conditions correspond with persistent negative beliefs about oneself or the world. The mind cannot distinguish between imagined limitations and objective reality. When a belief is deeply held, it operates as a self-fulfilling prophecy, guiding perception and action in ways that reinforce itself. For example, someone who believes they are destined to be unhealthy may subconsciously avoid exercise, neglect nutrition, or resist positive health practices, interpreting these actions as inevitable consequences rather than choices. This mental programming locks the individual into a cycle in which the body mirrors the mind's expectations, reinforcing the belief and making it seem unassailable. On the other hand, empowering beliefs have the opposite effect. When a person cultivates the belief that they are capable, resilient, and deserving of health and success, these thoughts actively shape their decisions, behaviors, and physiological state. Positive beliefs encourage constructive action, foster resilience, and create a foundation for growth. They send signals of safety and possibility to the nervous system, reduce chronic stress, and enhance overall well-being. The science behind this is increasingly clear. Beliefs influence not only mental and emotional health, but also biochemical and neurological pathways in the brain and body. Neuroscientific research shows that the brain's neural networks are sculpted by thought patterns, meaning that repeated beliefs literally wire the brain in ways that reinforce perception and behavior. This process, known as neuroplasticity, demonstrates that while beliefs can become deeply ingrained, they are not permanent and can be intentionally reshaped. The remarkable implication of this is that changing a belief is not mere wishful thinking, it is an act of biological transformation. The mind-body connection ensures that beliefs exert influence over physical health as well. The placebo effect is one of the most striking examples of this phenomenon. When a person genuinely believes in the efficacy of a treatment, even if it is inert, the body responds with measurable physiological changes. Hormone levels adjust, pain perception decreases, immune function improves, and healing processes accelerate. Conversely, the nocebo effect occurs when negative beliefs create detrimental physiological outcomes, even in the absence of real threats. Someone who believes that a treatment will fail or that their condition is hopeless can experience exacerbated symptoms simply because the mind communicates expectation of harm to the body. This demonstrates that belief is not an abstract concept, but a tangible force with measurable consequences. Limiting beliefs often operate quietly, unnoticed, yet they are consistently reinforced by experiences, language, and culture. Statements like, "I'll never succeed," "I'm not good enough," or "I can't change" are not just words, they are repeated instructions to the nervous system, forming patterns of anticipation, fear, and self-doubt. Over time, these messages shape how the individual responds to challenges, setbacks, and opportunities. The body and mind become conditioned to act as if these limitations are factual, creating obstacles that seem external but are in truth generated internally. Understanding the power of beliefs is both a warning and an invitation. While unexamined negative beliefs can subtly sabotage health, happiness, and success, conscious cultivation of empowering beliefs can transform life at every level. The first step in this transformation is awareness, noticing the beliefs that guide thoughts and behaviors, especially those that operate unconsciously. Self-reflection, journaling, and mindfulness practices allow individuals to identify patterns of limiting thinking and begin to question their validity. Once identified, these beliefs can be actively challenged and replaced with constructive alternatives. This process is not merely intellectual, but emotional. A belief must resonate emotionally to rewire neural patterns effectively. Simply telling oneself, "I am capable," is insufficient if it is not felt and integrated. Techniques such as visualization, affirmation, meditation, and guided imagery help embed new beliefs in the mind-body system, creating alignment between thought, feeling, and action. Consistency and repetition are essential. The brain strengthens patterns that are practiced regularly, meaning that adopting new beliefs requires commitment and persistence. Each time a positive, empowering belief is consciously practiced, it reinforces neural pathways that promote constructive behavior, emotional resilience, and even physiological health. Limiting beliefs often extend to the concept of possibility itself. People may unconsciously confine their ambitions, relationships, and potential based on what they have experienced or been told is realistic. Yet reality is a reflection of perception. What the mind consistently expects and believes shapes the circumstances it attracts and the actions it takes. Beliefs act like magnets, drawing experiences that are coherent with their expectations. Changing a belief about oneself, one's capabilities, or one's life is therefore not a superficial act. It fundamentally shifts the internal and external reality a person experiences. Emotional health is deeply intertwined with beliefs. Persistent negative beliefs generate chronic stress, anxiety, and depression, all of which have cascading effects on the body. Stress hormones increase, immune function diminishes, and the nervous system remains in a state of hypervigilance. By contrast, beliefs rooted in self-worth, capability, and resilience foster emotional balance, lower stress responses, and enhance overall vitality. The mind's expectations also shape social interactions. Beliefs about others, about fairness, and about personal value determine how people communicate, respond to challenges, and interpret events. Limiting beliefs can generate conflict, withdrawal, or dependence, creating cycles that reinforce the negative belief. Empowering beliefs cultivate constructive communication, confidence, and engagement, creating environments that support health, growth, and satisfaction. Changing beliefs is not always easy because they are often deeply entwined with identity. People may resist new beliefs because doing so feels like betraying the self they have always known. Yet this resistance is part of the transformation process. By consciously questioning assumptions, observing emotional responses, and experimenting with new ways of thinking, individuals can expand their sense of self, moving beyond limitations imposed by past conditioning. Beliefs also affect the perception of adversity. Someone who believes they are capable of overcoming challenges interprets difficulties as temporary and surmountable, maintaining resilience and proactive behavior. Someone anchored in limiting beliefs interprets similar circumstances as confirmation of incapability or misfortune, often exacerbating stress and reducing problem-solving capacity. The impact on physical health is profound. Chronic stress, negative emotional states, and a sense of helplessness all contribute to systemic inflammation, cardiovascular strain, hormonal imbalance, and immune suppression. By shifting beliefs towards self-efficacy, hope, and possibility, the mind communicates safety, empowerment, and repair to the body, promoting healing and longevity. The transformation of belief is not only an internal journey, but a practical one. Actions aligned with empowering beliefs reinforce their validity. When a person believes in their capacity to improve health, learn new skills, or build meaningful relationships, they are more likely to engage in behaviors that support these outcomes. Exercise, nutrition, skill development, and nurturing social connections all become natural extensions of a belief system grounded in possibility and growth. Limiting beliefs, in contrast, generate inertia and avoidance, creating a self-perpetuating cycle of unfulfilled potential. The subtle but profound message is that life itself mirrors the mind. By choosing to examine, question, and consciously shape beliefs, individuals can fundamentally alter the trajectory of their lives. What may have once seemed inevitable, failure, illness, stagnation, is no longer a predetermined reality, but a mutable landscape shaped by perception, expectation, and intention. Beliefs are not fixed. They are living patterns that can be rewired through attention, repetition, and emotional integration. Each day presents an opportunity to strengthen beliefs that support vitality, resilience, creativity, and fulfillment. The mind is not simply a passive observer of life. It is an active participant in creating the circumstances we experience. By becoming aware of this role, taking responsibility for the beliefs that guide thoughts and actions, and intentionally cultivating constructive mental patterns, individuals harness a power that transcends mere willpower. They align thought, emotion, and behavior to shape a reality that is coherent, fulfilling, and life-affirming. This is why the exploration of beliefs is so transformative. It is not a philosophical exercise, but a practical, actionable strategy for shaping health, happiness, and success. Each limiting belief that is questioned and replaced, each new empowering idea that is integrated and embodied, creates ripples throughout every aspect of life, transforming not only internal experience, but external outcomes. Understanding that beliefs shape reality invites a radical sense of agency. It reminds individuals that while circumstances may not always be within immediate control, the mind's interpretation of those circumstances is entirely within reach. By cultivating beliefs that support possibility, resilience, and self-worth, a person rewires both brain and body, fostering conditions that promote well-being, vitality, and the realization of potential. Beliefs, in essence, are the invisible threads weaving the fabric of reality. The more consciously and intentionally they are cultivated, the more vibrant, expansive, and life-affirming that reality becomes. Limiting beliefs may create patterns of struggle, disease, and dissatisfaction, but empowering beliefs create pathways to health, creativity, and fulfillment. The recognition of this truth is not merely enlightening, it is transformative, offering a roadmap to a life in which the mind, body, and circumstances align in harmony, guided by the conscious choices of thought and belief. The mind holds an extraordinary capacity to influence the body's healing processes, a power that is often overlooked yet profoundly accessible to anyone willing to explore it. Healing is not only a matter of medicine, surgery, or external intervention. It is deeply intertwined with the state of consciousness, the patterns of thought, and the emotions that course through daily life. Mindset is not just an abstract concept. It is a living, dynamic force that shapes perception, physiology, and the trajectory of recovery. When the mind adopts a healing-focused orientation, it communicates signals of safety, possibility, and restoration to the nervous system and the body, creating an environment in which physical repair and emotional balance can thrive. Conversely, a mindset dominated by fear, doubt, or negativity amplifies stress, triggers chronic inflammation, and impairs the body's natural ability to regenerate. The power of mindset to heal is grounded in science, yet it also extends into the realm of conscious awareness and intentionality. The field of psychoneuroimmunology has demonstrated that thoughts and emotions can directly influence immune function. A person who approaches life with fear or hopelessness may show diminished immune activity, slower wound healing, and increased susceptibility to illness. In contrast, individuals who cultivate positive expectations, hope, and emotional resilience exhibit stronger immune responses, more rapid recovery from injury, and improved physiological balance. This illustrates that mindset is not merely a companion to healing, it is an active participant, a partner that works in concert with medical interventions to produce tangible outcomes. One of the most remarkable examples of the mind's ability to influence healing is the placebo effect. When individuals genuinely believe that a treatment will work, the body often responds as if the treatment were real, producing measurable biochemical changes. Pain diminishes, inflammatory markers decrease, and the nervous system adopts a state conducive to recovery. This phenomenon highlights that belief and expectation are not abstract metaphors, but physiological catalysts for health. It also underscores a critical principle: the body responds to signals from the mind, whether those signals are positive, negative, conscious, or subconscious. Mindset functions as a set of instructions that guide the body's internal processes. When the mind is oriented toward healing, it sends repeated messages of safety and restoration, which modulate the nervous system, reduce stress hormones, and optimize the body's natural repair mechanisms. The parasympathetic nervous system, often referred to as the rest and digest system, becomes more active in this state, allowing the body to allocate energy toward tissue repair, immune enhancement, and hormonal balance. On the other hand, a mind focused on fear, worry, or negativity maintains the sympathetic nervous system in a constant state of alert. This fight or flight mode, while essential for survival in acute situations, is detrimental when prolonged. It suppresses digestion, impairs immune function, disrupts sleep, and promotes chronic inflammation, all of which inhibit healing and accelerate deterioration. Mindset is therefore not an optional adjunct to health. It is a primary determinant of the internal environment in which healing occurs. The transformative power of mindset is amplified through intentional practices that align thought, emotion, and attention. Meditation, visualization, affirmations, and mindfulness are all methods that help cultivate a healing-oriented state of consciousness. Meditation, for example, has been shown to lower cortisol levels, reduce blood pressure, enhance immune function, and improve emotional regulation. Visualization, when practiced consistently, enables individuals to imagine healthy outcomes, creating neurological and physiological pathways that support the body's regenerative processes. Affirmations and positive self-talk reinforce beliefs of capability, resilience, and recovery, which in turn send reinforcing signals to the nervous system and the endocrine system, promoting physical and emotional health. The integration of these practices into daily life is not a matter of superstition or wishful thinking. It is an actionable, evidence-based approach to creating a mind-body environment conducive to healing. Mindset also shapes behavior, which further influences health outcomes. An individual who believes in their capacity to heal is more likely to adopt behaviors that support recovery, following medical advice, engaging in physical activity appropriate to their condition, prioritizing nutrition, resting adequately, and seeking emotional support. The belief in the possibility of healing becomes a self-reinforcing loop. Positive mindset leads to constructive action, which produces measurable results, which in turn reinforces the belief. Conversely, a negative or defeatist mindset leads to avoidance, neglect of self-care, and diminished adherence to healing protocols, creating a cycle that perpetuates illness. Emotional alignment is equally critical in the process of healing through mindset. Healing is most effective when thought and emotion are coherent, when the mind is not merely reciting positive ideas, but genuinely engaging with them at a felt level. Emotions such as hope, gratitude, joy, and self-compassion send powerful physiological signals that reduce stress, modulate pain perception, and enhance immune function. The body responds not only to what the mind thinks, but also to what it feels. Cultivating emotional coherence through practices such as gratitude journaling, loving kindness meditation, or mindful awareness of positive experiences amplifies the body's capacity to repair and rejuvenate. The concept of neuroplasticity is central to understanding how mindset can heal. The brain is not a static organ. It continuously reorganizes itself in response to thought patterns, experiences, and intentional practices. By repeatedly engaging in thoughts and emotions associated with health, vitality, and resilience, individuals strengthen neural networks that support these states. Over time, these reinforced pathways become the default mode of the mind, naturally orienting thought and behavior toward healing rather than disease. Mindset also influences perception, which in turn affects physiological outcomes. Pain, discomfort, and illness are not solely physical phenomena. They are interpreted by the brain through a complex interplay of sensory input, prior experience, and belief. Individuals with a healing-focused mindset often perceive symptoms differently, experiencing less pain, less distress, and more control over their recovery. This altered perception does not diminish the reality of the condition. Rather, it changes the body's response to it, reducing stress, inflammation, and the risk of secondary complications. The role of mindfulness in cultivating a healing mindset cannot be overstated. Mindfulness involves observing thoughts and sensations without judgment, fostering a sense of presence and acceptance. This practice reduces the habitual ruminations and catastrophic thinking that exacerbate stress responses, allowing the body to enter a state conducive to healing. By creating a buffer between thought and reaction, mindfulness empowers individuals to respond to illness and injury with calm, clarity, and intentionality rather than fear and panic. Belief and expectation also shape healing outcomes through the modulation of the autonomic nervous system. When the mind anticipates recovery, the body aligns with this expectation by enhancing circulation, modulating hormone release, and optimizing organ function. Conversely, expectations of deterioration or hopelessness signal danger, triggering defensive physiological responses that hinder repair. This demonstrates that mindset is not peripheral to recovery, but central to the body's internal orchestration of healing processes. Healing through mindset is further supported by the integration of visualization techniques. When individuals vividly imagine the restoration of tissues, the reduction of pain, or the normalization of physiological processes, they are activating brain regions associated with sensory perception, motor function, and emotional regulation. These activations produce real neurochemical changes that support immune function, tissue regeneration, and stress reduction. Visualization is, in essence, training the brain and body to align with a state of health, reinforcing pathways that facilitate tangible improvement. The mind's influence on healing extends beyond individual health to the experience of chronic conditions. Patients managing long-term illness often report that cultivating a positive, resilient mindset helps them cope with symptoms, adhere to treatment, and maintain quality of life. Mindset does not always eliminate disease, but it transforms the internal landscape in which illness exists, reducing suffering, enhancing adaptability, and optimizing the body's response to therapeutic interventions. Social and environmental factors also intersect with mindset in the healing process. Beliefs about support, connection, and safety influence stress levels, hormone balance, and immune function. A healing-oriented mindset fosters openness to support, nurtures constructive relationships, and encourages engagement with resources that facilitate recovery. Conversely, isolation, fear, and distrust reinforced by negative beliefs amplify stress and inhibit healing pathways. The cultivation of mindset as a tool for healing is therefore a holistic practice integrating cognitive, emotional, and social dimensions of human experience. The cumulative effect of adopting a healing-focused mindset is profound. It transforms how the body responds to injury, illness, and chronic stress. It modulates pain perception, reduces inflammation, enhances immune competence, and optimizes neurological function. It empowers individuals to engage proactively with their health, to act in ways that reinforce recovery, and to sustain resilience in the face of challenges. Perhaps most importantly, the healing mindset fosters a sense of agency. When people recognize that their thoughts, emotions, and beliefs are powerful determinants of physiological outcomes, they reclaim authority over their health. No longer passive recipients of circumstance, they become active participants in their own recovery, capable of harnessing the mind's inherent power to support, restore, and enhance life. In practical terms, cultivating a mindset that facilitates healing involves daily attention to thought patterns, intentional engagement with practices that promote emotional coherence, and consistent reinforcement of empowering beliefs. It involves replacing fear with hope, doubt with confidence, negativity with constructive focus, and disempowering self-talk with affirmations of resilience and possibility. The results are measurable: reduced stress hormones, enhanced immune function, improved sleep, greater energy, and a heightened sense of well-being. The mind is a living instrument capable of both generating illness and catalyzing recovery. By intentionally shaping mindset, Individuals direct this instrument toward healing, creating conditions in which the body, emotions, and consciousness converge to support vitality. This perspective transforms health from a passive, externally determined state into an active, co-created experience in which the mind and body work in harmony. Mindset, therefore, is not merely a psychological tool, it is a physiological agent of change. Every thought, expectation, and emotion communicates instructions to the body, guiding it toward deterioration or restoration. By cultivating a mindset oriented toward healing, individuals harness a profound natural power, aligning brain, body, and spirit in the pursuit of health, resilience, and life-affirming vitality. The capacity for the mind to heal is universal, accessible to anyone willing to engage intentionally with their inner world. It requires awareness, consistency, and emotional integration, but the rewards are profound: enhanced recovery, reduced suffering, and the empowerment that comes from knowing that the mind is not simply an observer of health, but a co-creator of it. The conscious cultivation of a healing mindset represents one of the most powerful tools available to humans, bridging science and conscious thought and physiology, belief in reality. By recognizing and applying this principle, anyone can transform the way they experience life, creating a body and mind that are aligned, resilient, and capable of sustaining health and well-being at the highest level. The journey we've explored reveals a powerful truth. The mind is not just a witness to our lives. It is a creator, a healer, and at times a source of harm. Every thought, every belief, every mental pattern carries consequences for the body, shaping our health, our experiences, and the very reality we inhabit. Chronic stress, fear, and negativity can silently erode vitality, while empowering beliefs and a healing, focused mindset can unlock the body's innate capacity to restore, rejuvenate, and thrive. The connection between mind and body is not abstract. It is tangible, measurable, and transformative. You are not a passive observer of your circumstances. You have the ability to shift your thoughts, to challenge limiting beliefs, and to cultivate a mindset that supports health, resilience, and well-being. Healing begins within, in the landscape of your mind, where intention meets awareness and where belief meets possibility. The choice is yours: to remain at the mercy of unconscious patterns or to take command of your mind, align your thoughts with life, affirming beliefs, and activate the incredible power within you to heal. When you understand and embrace this truth, you step into a life of greater vitality, clarity, and freedom, knowing that the mind you choose to cultivate can either limit you or transform you, and that transformation starts today.